Welcome back, guys, to another episode of the Wisconsin Investor. I am your host, Corey Raymond, and I am back after getting a little break here with Reese and Connor. Last week and the week before that, we had Reese hitting a solo episode. If you guys have not checked those episodes out, please go back and listen to them. They did a fantastic job on those episodes. Got me thinking about a lot of stuff. But today's episode is all about a couple who are engaged to be married, but instead of planning their wedding, they've been fighting to refinance out of a hard money loan, dealing with a bank that keeps changing the rules, and now they're a few months behind on payments. And this is not a horror story, guys. This is real life. And if you invest in real estate or you borrow private or hard money, you guys need to hear this story today. With that, we have Matt Richardson and Ashley. What's up, gal?
Hello. Thanks for having us, Corey.
Yeah, thanks for coming on, guys. We're going to get into this story about this deal that we're currently dealing with. When we started, we said, hey, let's get you guys on the podcast. Let's do it once this refinance is done. And then we've got the whole thing kind of tied up with a bow. And so we scheduled this thing thinking like by the time we schedule this thing, we'll have that refinance done. And here we are today. We got another little curveball thrown at us this week. And so we'll dive into that deal. But first, before we do that, let's just tell us a little bit about each of your stories. Like, how did you guys get into real estate investing?
You want to go ahead?
Yeah.
Yeah. So for me, it kind of started my parents. They've gotten into real estate for a few years now. They got a lot of properties. And at that point, I was kind of seeing like what their process was, what their success was with real estate. So I could see that vision. And like, for me, I didn't want to work a W-2 until retirement. I know Ashley doesn't. And
Come on, AB. Come on. By the way, Ashley, if you guys have bought a property from us, Ashley is one of our Rockstar transaction coordinators. So you may have talked to her as she's helped you through us transitioning that contract over to you. So that's why I'm making the joke about her, not wanting to be in a W-2 forever. So anyway, go on. Sorry, Matt.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, so we kind of shared that vision. And we were in Milwaukee at the time. I was listening to like bigger podcasts, like Real Estate Rookie podcast, kind of just getting a lot of information on that, doing analysis. And soon enough, we were like, kind of want to get into our own property. We were kind of told that doing the duplex, doing the house hacking was kind of the route to go versus going into a single family right away. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of what we explored right away. Went on bigger pockets, looked for a realtor that was investor friendly. So we connected with a realtor down there.
Oh, cool.
Looked at a lot of duplexes down in the area. I know there was a triplex that we had gotten into a deal with, and that fell through. So, I mean, we're not where we're used to having things fall through, I guess you could say. So,
so the trend.
Stranger to that, yeah. So, eventually we found a duplex through our realtor, off market, and that was our first house hack, first duplex that we still are renting currently today.
Awesome. And if you guys haven't heard Scott and Shannon Richardson's episode, that is the parents that Matt is referencing being involved. So they were on maybe 10 episodes ago or something. So if you guys are on YouTube or on Spotify or whatever, you can scroll down and find Scott and Shannon's episode. They had some really good nuggets in their episode as well, but really cool. So you had that example from your folks to say, hey, like you got somebody else that you personally and intimately know, they're doing it. You saw that success can be achieved in this. And that was really the motivation for you guys. Ashley, is it the same for you, or before you and Matt met, did you have inclinations? Did you ever think you'd be sitting here talking about real estate investing before you guys got together?
Actually, no. I had a very different opposite view. I actually went to school, got my all the way up for a master's degree, and I landed what I thought was my dream job when Matt and I got together. And we were living in Milwaukee, and he brought up the idea of, let's go buy a duplex. And I was like, absolutely not. No, I want my single family house. And he's like, well, listen, if we go get a duplex, then we can have renters. And I'm like, renters? No.
This is
I
awesome.
want my own space. I also grew up in a townhouse. So my mom owns a townhouse. So I was like, I did the multifamily thing. Like, I want my own space. Eventually, Matt, just being really good with his numbers, kind of broke it down and was like, look at this and look at what they're doing. And then I was able to see what Scott and Shannon were doing, my future in-laws. And I was like, okay, well, maybe I don't want to be working 62 hours a week. Let's just give this a try. And um, it worked out really well for us. We got our property in Milwaukee, and then I was sitting there and we got our first rent payment of $975. And I was like, I didn't have to do anything. It just hit my bank account and it just sat there. I was like, wow, okay.
This is real.
I can get on board with this.
Yeah.
So, and then Shannon was actually the one who helped me transition to come up to the Green Bay area, connected me with you, and then the rest is kind of history from there. Interviewed, and now I'm working here and learning a lot of great lessons. So.
Yeah, for sure. Well, we're going to talk about one of these, a lot of lessons probably learned in this last deal here soon. But I think what's interesting for those of you guys that don't know Matt and Ashley, at least this is my interpretation now, guys, of the couple dynamics here. It seems like the roles have changed. And now, Ashley, you're like the gas pedal and Matt, you're more of the brake. Is that accurate? Am I reading that right?
Yeah. Yeah. Very accurate. Yeah. Yeah.
That's great. So for couples out there listening to this, if you are trying to convince your spouse to get into real estate, be careful what you wish for, right? They may end up being the gas pedal way harder than you ever imagined they would be. So that's cool. I think that's great. And what I think is a good lesson here too is, Matt, it sounded like you had to show her the numbers to get her to see the thing. With actually, it sounded like, Ashley, you had a lot of just, personal history, living where you lived before, and the thought of the dynamics of what that looked like maybe were the thing holding you back. But the numbers, once you saw that, it seemed like he must have hit your logical brain there or something where you're like, that now makes sense, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Awesome. And you guys still have this property, correct?
We do. Yeah.
Okay.
And it's cash flowing about $500 a month.
Okay.
And we just raised some rents this month. So yeah.
Awesome. And when did you guys pick that one up? When did that purchase happen?
Was that in 22?
So you got to, my question is really like, what's the rate on that thing? I'm guessing that if you got it in 22, you probably got a pretty sweet rate on it.
Yeah. So we got primary home rate. Mm-hmm. So it's a 6.5 interest rate. And we picked it up at we bought it for $250. Mm-hmm. So right now because we were teetering back and forth about selling it, what we got looked at was $295 for a listing price.
Okay.
But the cash flow for us is a little bit more important.
For
and
sure.
So it's very hard for us to give up a property that it's just keep going up in cash flow. So
yeah, and that's a side-by-side duplex, right?
It's an upper lower.
Upper lower. Yep. Okay, got it. Cool. Well, either way, it sounds like it's appreciating. It's kicking off cash. Like, why would you sell it, right? Kind of a thing. So that's awesome. So tell us. So from that point forward, what else has happened for you guys in real estate before we get to this latest deal?
Yeah. So since that first deal, we ended up moving up to the Green Bay area. Matt's from here, so it was a new transition for me. We ended up buying 2 properties. So we got our next house hack that we're currently living in and have our other side rented out as well. And then we bought our first flip, which is the property we will get into.
We will break that down.
That we've learned that. So yeah, that's kind of where our real estate went. And now we're just trying to work on this refinance, I guess.
Yeah. The one that you guys, the house hack that you're in now, how did you guys finance that, and how's that one working out?
Yeah, so with that one, we financed it the same way we did our Milwaukee one. We found it on the MLS, and then we did primary home rate. So we only had to put 5% down.
Cool.
We got a 6.8 interest rate on that thing, and obviously, we ran the numbers based off of us living there, and it's still going to cash flow. Once we're completely out, it'll probably cash flow about $500 as well.
Cool.
So I'm a big advocate for house hacking. I will Love it. You get better rates on it, and if you can do it, it's definitely the way to go.
That's awesome. So you guys, you're conquering the house hack thing. Now we just got to figure out how to conquer flipping. Right?
Yes.
All right, take us back. So tell us, so that when Ashley's referring to moving up to this area, the Green Bay area, that's where our office is, for those of you guys that aren't familiar with that area. But take us back to like when you guys first decided to take down this deal. Tell us a little bit about the deal. What were you guys like really excited about with that deal?
Yeah, so I think when we found out about this deal, we were on a river cruise, I believe, at the time, and we were teetering on whether we're going to pull the trigger on this. I was running the numbers, and I mean, it made sense when we ran the numbers. There's a pretty good margin for what we thought needed to be in rehab costs and what the ARV could be. So, yeah, we put an offer in, and then next like couple days later, found out that we got the deal. It's a pretty scary moment for us, at least for me. Oh, we actually got it, so here we go.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, once we got back, started just trying to plan ahead on who we were going to have for contracting, all the rehab stuff, and when we were going to go out and see it. I think we had a few months to kind of plan that out before closing, which was nice. So we didn't have to go right into it. So had a little bit of couple months to plan ahead on that.
Nice.
Yeah, we also really enjoy it. It's a 2-acre lot too, so the land in itself really drawed us. For me, on the other end, I was hoping that we would eventually live in the place. So I was like, I think that was a big lesson for me of like, falling in love with something that I thought would be my own. Obviously, that didn't go the way it did, but yeah.
Not getting emotionally attached, it sounds like, right?
Yes.
Ashley, that's what I heard when you said that. I was like, that sounds like emotional attachment. That's one of the things, I for those of you guys that don't know our process when we wholesale deals, we send out an inspection report, a video, all this sort of stuff, but you're not physically walking through these properties. And some people hate that idea, right? They're like, I need to walk in, I need to feel it, I need to do it. And I understand that, and that works great for a lot of people. But this way typically reduces the emotional response, unless you have a hidden agenda here of wanting to move into the property. You're still going to have that emotional thing. But sometimes when you go to these properties and you're like, oh, it just feels good, or it does this, it can work against you in real estate investing, where you get too emotional about it and you stop going to, like Matt, what you did with Ashley early on was just showing the numbers. Like, what do the numbers say? Does this meet my buy box? And then you can learn some lessons there if you were off on your buy box later, as far as estimations of numbers and those kinds of things. But at least making that purchase decision, there's so many people we talk to on a regular basis that are like, I've been looking at buying real estate for the last 34 years, and I just haven't pulled the trigger because I haven't found the right deal. And then we ask them what the right deal is, and they're like, oh, well, it's just got to feel right. And it's like, well, apparently not, because, you can't tell me for 34 years you haven't found one that feels right. And I'm exaggerating a little bit, but when you take the emotion out of it and you take that and you get really crystal clear on, like, we want this, 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 and it doesn't have to be super dialed in, but at least some idea of what a good deal looks like, you start to remove a lot of that emotional bias that can lead you into some either bad decisions or keep you on the sidelines of never making a decision, which could be the most detrimental decision that you make, is to make no decision, right? So anyway, I thought that was an interesting point as you were talking about the home thing. I'm like, okay, I see there. All right. Well, let's talk a little bit about the financing piece of this, because I think this is really, as we led with coming into this is where some people can really get into trouble in real estate without understanding these things. Now, I financed this deal, for those of you guys that don't know, to our employees here, Ashley, and that is a benefit to work for our company. Is, if the deal makes sense, we'll do some hard money lending to them at a little bit better rate than what the market can do. And luckily, you have a nice boss who's a little more flexible with certain things as far as timelines and things go, if things do go awry. But let's talk a little bit about, the financing piece, and like, when did you guys, when did things start kind of turning for you guys to maybe start becoming more stressful, and you got rid of the excitement of doing the deal? When did all that start to happen?
Yeah. So The deal, we learned so much. I think from when we ran the numbers, we had a good margin and everything on that sense. We learned a lot about contractors. So our contractor did not give us like pricing all the way through. Um, and he gave me only like his labor. He did not include labor for all of his crew that we had to pay.
Oh,
Uh, so we learned a big lesson about like making sure we get quotes from our contractors and everything like that. We also made the mistake of kind of giving a range of like, hey, this is what we want done, but do what you think is best on that.
ah,
Um, so, and he did. He did do what he thought was best, but it just costed us money for it, you
for
know.
sure.
And we gave a budget, like our budget was $47,000. That's what we were going to do for rehab. And we hit that within probably week number 5. Um, and we had to come up with, more money. So we found a way to come up with some more money. And we were like, okay, now we're at $67,000. That's our budget. Like, that's all you get to work with. Well, week number 8 hit, and we were blowing through that. Uh,
Wow.
and so we ended up having to put another $40,000. So our $47,000 rehab turned to $100,000 rehab.
Dang.
Uh, so I think right there, we're trying to piece together our rehab money, rehab budgets. We learned so much about that and how to do it, scopes of work, um, and all that fun stuff. So fortunately, with this, we were able to get everything. It was turned to be a full gut job
Okay. Okay.
for our first flip, right? A full gut. It also had foundation issues, so we had to deal with that, and it's on a well and septic. So we had all of it for the first one, and thankfully we were able to get everything done in 10 weeks. We got it done in
All
10
right.
weeks,
Okay.
which was pretty good.
Mhm.
We could not predict the market though. As soon as it hit the market, that's where we were like, okay, we're going to get a bidding war on this. We have a great price on it. It's 2 acres of land in a great neighborhood, like out in the country, but still in the
Hmm.
city. And then we get the first offer in. And the first offer was $60,000 lower than what our asking price was. And there was no negotiation. Like they were like, this is the price, we're not negotiating. And then we got another offer in, and that was $40,000 lower. And we eventually got to the point where we plateaued and we were going to lose money on this thing. We were estimated probably like 10 grand of a loss. And
Okay.
me being stubborn, was like, we're not losing money on our first flip. It's not going to happen. So we did not accept any of these offers. I was like, unless we can get an offer to where we need it to be to make some, we're not accepting it. Uh,
Okay.
so September-ish, we ended up looking. I know our loan was due in November, so started the refinancing process in September, and I was promised that we could get this done in November. And I think when the stress really hit was when we got to November when the note was due, and my lender's like, we need another 30-day extension.
Mm.
So that's when the stress really hit of like, oh no, what do you mean another 30-day extension?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What was going through your mind when you took that call, Ashley, or that text or whatever mode of communication came in? What was going through your head at that moment?
Um, I was freaking out. This was my first ever flip, my first deal. And what I thought we did almost everything, like what we've been told, like we did almost everything right. Like
Yeah.
we got it on the market. We did the numbers, and then offers were not coming in. The numbers weren't working anymore. And I was like, now I have to go back to my lenders and tell them I need a 30-day extension. And I was like, oh, shit.
Yeah.
Like, I had no idea, what that conversation was going to look like. It could have been like, okay, like, yeah, take that 30 days. Or in my head, I was like, oh, okay, this is going to be the worst case scenario. Corey's going to say, give me the house. You can walk away, like, just be done. And I was like freaking out. But I think in that moment, I learned a really hard lesson that communication is the best key.
Yeah.
Because as soon as I had the conversation with you, and I had the conversation with the other mortgage that's on the property, I was so less stressed. Everybody's like, yeah, we understand, like, take the 30 days and get it figured out.
Yeah.
So that would be my biggest advice, is just like communicate with the lenders and explain what's going on. Or I also think I came with like some solutions of like, I don't know what to do, but here's what I'm thinking. And then, is that correct? Like, is that what we should be doing? So yeah. And then we got that 30 days. So my stress levels were okay.
Yeah.
And then I got another text after those 30 days saying, we need another 30-day extension. And at that point, once I was like, 60 days, we're going out from this note. I was like, okay, well, I can't switch lenders at this point because there was no lender in my mind that I was like, that could get this done fast, that I needed to get it done. So having another conversation with my lenders of like, they needed a 30-day extension. But I also think it would help that you were able to reach out to the lender themselves as well. And that helped significantly, because then at that point, the lender was explaining to you what I was trying to explain, and it was a whole thing. But there was curveball after curveball. Like, we were getting told we couldn't refinance because the house was a rural property, and it being rural, like, I didn't know that had anything to do with it. Then we were told that we couldn't refinance because we have two mortgages on the property, so we would have had to satisfy the first or the second lien to refinance the first lien, so we couldn't do that. And now, after the second 30-day notice, I got told again that we might need another 30-day extension. Like, no, nope, like, that's not happening. Like, at this point, that just tells me you can't do the deal. And this time it was because the debt to income ratio on the property was too high, and it didn't agree to it. So there's been a lot of emotions and a lot of curveballs with this one. But a couple things that I've learned with a DSCR loan: if it is listed, lenders are going to take that lowest listed price. That is what they're going to go off of versus your appraisal. And we appraised really good on our house. Our house ended up appraising for $444,000. So.
And what did you run your numbers at on the front end?
400,000.
400,000. So you got a 44K bump, which helps absorb some of that $100,000 rehab overrun, right?
Yes.
That's nice. When on the back end you get a little bump in the ARV. That's good.
Yeah. So, that was our first being told, like, we were not going to be able to take that 444,000 and use that. We had to take our lowest listing price. Well, our lowest listing price was $390,000, so that wasn't even going to cover our debt at all. Like, barely cover our hard money loan to pay. Wouldn't even pay our hard money loan off. So yeah, there was just a lot of stress. There's still a lot of stress going and trying to get that done. But going to REIs, going to networkings was really valuable. We were able to talk to some lenders there. One of the lenders who actually helped us with our house hack with Milwaukee was like, okay, we can get this done, but here's what you have to do. And he gave me some steps that I had to do, and said, just call me if they can't do it. We'll get it done. So we're ending up switching. We're going to switch lenders, and hopefully we can get this done fairly quick. I'm really hopeful we can get it done.
Yeah, for sure. And so there's a lot to unpack there, guys, from this deal, which is why I wanted to bring this one on and talk about this, because I think a lot of times we get on the podcast and we're like, oh man, you made all this money in this deal, or you did this. And it's good to hear when things go sideways and how you guys are handling it. And here's the cool part. You guys are still talking about the next deal that you're going to do, which is great. Like, I think that's an important part. A lot of times deals like this that go sideways, they'll knock somebody completely out of this, right? They'll be gone. Right. And then you're right back to, well, okay, how do we get out of this W-2 life? Again, you got to go find some other vehicle somewhere else to go do it, where you guys are earning your tuition right now. Right. And long story short, you guys should still do well with this property after everything. So tell them what you guys are doing on the exit strategy. So you listed it. We got to a point where we started having conversations, right? And I said, hey, maybe we should try this other avenue. Talk a little bit about what you guys have done from an exit strategy standpoint to try to help mitigate some of the cost overruns that you ran into and some of those things.
Yeah, so I think the exit strategy that we're trying to do is like a rent to own option. So instead of taking the loss for trying to sell it for 10,000 loss, the exit strategy was to do it like a rent to own option, a little more creative financing way, over like a 5-year term, having people go in there rent, and then with the intention to buy after that 5-year term.
Yeah. So we ended up getting a sale price of $400,000, which is kind of where we wanted to be on our numbers.
Mm-hmm.
And they have a smoking deal. It's like a 2% interest rate on that, and then they have 5 years to pay the $400,000 or refinance us out.
Yeah.
So that's our fun exit strategy that was creative. So over 5 years, we should come out ahead.
Yeah. Yeah. So we've talked about rent to own strategy in previous episodes, but if you guys aren't familiar with that strategy, essentially what we do in that strategy is you sell it, but you don't have to pay a realtor fee. So when you add up those realtor fees, 5, 4%, if you're paying 6%, you're paying too much, but 4 or 5%, depending on your relationship and negotiations with your agent, you do that on a $400,000 house. Let's just say 5%, there's 20 grand right there, right down the tubes. So you eliminate that, you give yourself an immediate $20,000 bump. The other thing is typically you can get a higher sale price in the end, right? What did you guys have this thing listed for at its lowest?
$390 was at its lowest, but
the lowest.
Yep, and the highest offer we got in was $365.
$365. Okay. So let's just say $390. Now you're selling it for $400. There's $10,000 extra. So now add those two things up collectively. You've made another $30,000 on this house by doing this strategy. Now you got to wait to get that money. So there's downside to that. But if everything works out and these folks pull through for you on getting the end financing, now you've taken what would have been a loss and a hit short term and turned it into a long-term gain. You just got to wait to get those funds. And so I think that's always something for people to remember. There's always a different way to think about things. If it's not going the original way that you thought it would, doesn't mean that you're going to have to take a huge bath on something. You may just have to get a little creative in how you do it. You got to be scrappy, which you guys are scrappy. And I love that. And you're just asking the questions, you're networking, there's so many good things here that are coming out of this for you guys, I think in the long term, that are really positive. That'll be lessons learned in the future on the next one. Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely. Yeah. So that's cool. Let's talk a little bit about going back. I want to start unpacking some of these lessons. How did you guys go from $40,000 or $47,000 of rehab to $100 and some thousand? Was it mostly because of this contractor, or was it like, man, we really should have saw these things ahead of time? What were some of the things that led to that extra 60 grand?
I think the big thing, so there was like a front deck on the front of the house, and we didn't really, from the videos, we could see that the deck needed to be ripped out, but we didn't know the extent of like the water damage coming in. So all the subfloor going into like from that porch into like the kitchen area, all that subfloor was rotted. So I mean, we budgeted for flooring, but we didn't have any clue on what we needed for subfloor and any like repair on the floor, the extent of LVP. So that was one of the big things that definitely ramped up the budget for rehab.
Plumbing as well, plumbing and electrical.
Yeah.
We had to rip all of the plumbing out and redo all the plumbing.
Wow.
So that was something that we did not foresee or budget for or see for that coming. And then our electrical, we had to rewire a lot of the housing. Like the panel didn't need to be updated or anything, but a lot of the rewiring and everything needed to be updated there.
Okay. Got it. So what was up with the plumbing? Like, why did you have to rip everything out? Like, and was that not caught in the inspection, or like what was the thing that caused the plumbing to have to get completely ripped out?
Yeah, so for the plumbing, I think we knew that there was to some extent that there would be new plumbing needed. So like there was like a kind of like a handyman situation where they had plumbing from the bathroom upstairs go to the sump pump. And that would, so probably to like mitigate like costs on utilities maybe. I'm not sure. But yeah, there's water basically funneling from that to the sump pump and then just shooting out. So
and you can't do that apparently.
You can't do that.
Okay.
No.
I wouldn't have known that. I would
So
Yeah, we just had to
Okay.
do plumbing stack, and from there it
Yeah.
had to go
Okay.
out. So, yeah.
Well, now
So we
you
didn't-
know. Now you
Yeah.
know. You check that, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Lesson learned
So,
there. Yeah.
And then we ended up tearing down some walls too, and
Okay.
making it more of an open concept. So
Okay.
there was not that we found anything, but we had to plaster the whole house and do all of that fun stuff. So there was just
Okay.
some things that we just really didn't know to budget for, or what we were even like what materials or anything cost. With this just being our first ever rehab, like we had no idea.
Yeah. What, looking back at this now and going forward into the future ones, guys, like just speaking strictly on the construction contractor thing, what are some like just bullet points, lessons learned when you go into this next one? Like, what are some things you're going to do differently from like the rehab contractor situation? Whether that's budgeting wise or just relationship with contractor, like what are some of those lessons learned?
Yeah, a big one, scope of work. We had a scope of work, but didn't have a scope of work.
Okay.
So that's a big one. And we learned a lot about material cost. We learned about how much things actually are going to cost. So that is also a nice lesson for us. So we know what materials we want, and how much that's going to cost and how that's going to play into everything. And we had a contractor that could do it all. So I think we've also learned to get more people who are specialized in their specific fields and areas. And I think the biggest one is make sure we get quotes. Like we get a quote of how much their labor and everything is going to cost us upfront versus when we get that bill 2 weeks later and it's like, whoa, that's $5,000 that we owe just in labor costs. Like, how did that happen? So, yeah.
That's a great lesson. I want to just reiterate for the audience out there, just from my experience too. We have like a handyman guy, I would call him, that we use for just all. He's kind of like my miscellaneous. I got a weird project. Like he'll come up and like take my Christmas lights down, which sounds so first world problem. Like I can't get out there and do it, but I'm like I ain't getting on ladders and walking around. So I hire this guy, comes up, does it right, and I've had him do several projects over the years, so I kind of know some of this stuff with this guy. Like you got to get a quote ahead of time before you have him come and do anything. Like it's just, we've negotiated like an hourly rate, but then sometimes he'll just be like, this was harder than I thought. And then he just charges me whatever he wants. So I had him move some hot tubs for me the other day over the years because I bought some hot tubs for Airbnbs. Mm-hmm. They sent me the one, I wanted 220 volts so that they could handle these cold temperatures we've been in the last few weeks, right? And they sent me ones that they said, yeah, you can convert any of these to 220 and whatever. I was like, okay, great. They send them, they can't be converted. So they're 110s. So I have electricians who put the 220 outlets in, they did everything, right? So now I got to figure out, like, the guy offered me a smoking deal on these hot tubs if I kept them, and he got me the other ones at the same price, some different ones that were 220. So it worked out because I had 2 other properties that needed hot tubs, so it was fine. But I had to move some of these. So I had to move some from Door County to Green Bay to places that had 110 outlets, and do the switcheroo. And I had a couple $100 he charged me for those or something. And I got quotes ahead of time on those, right? So then I had one that I had to move from Green Bay to Door County, a different one from a seller of ours that was wanting to get rid of a hot tub. So I said, well, I'll take it. And the bill for that one, because it was a quote unquote heavier and more and harder to move, was $1,200 he was trying to charge me from a couple hundred. And I was like, bro, no, we ain't doing this. No. So luckily he was good and adjusted it. But I mean, that goes to show, like, I got lazy with, like, hey, what would you charge me to do XYZ? Get the price up front. Then it's, if there's some issues where, hey man, this took a lot longer than I estimated because it was way heavier than the last ones, great. We'll make an adjustment based on the hours it took you, but like not to the tune of like 4 times, what the other ones were. Yeah. So I think that's a good lesson for our audience out there, is like, even for me, I've been in this game almost a decade and I still get kind of, running 100 miles an hour, just like, hey man, can you go do this? We have a relationship. Just go, I'm assuming you're going to charge me what we did on the last one. Nope. We're going to try to get 4 times what really it should have been. And so it's really, really important, I think, for people out there listening to this, get the quotes ahead of time before they start the work. And then you got it in writing. Amy Farrow at the REI Success meeting the other night, attorney there, she talked about that. It was really important. And I agree. Have everything in writing. And that way there's no discrepancies when that bill comes, right? No surprises. Then you can budget a lot more and hey, I really do have $47,000. This is all I got. And now you keep that to yourself, but you can start to chunk up a lot of the rehab and understand, where do I got to put the money in these properties? So I think that's good stuff. That's great for the audience here. What about the financing side of things? Now let's go to that. So looking back, going forward into the next deal, are you guys looking at doing anything different on the next flip that you do? How is that going to look with the next one that you take on?
Yeah. So hard money is a great way to get into the game with little to no of your own money, right? And for us, I'm fortunate enough to have a great hard money lender who's willing to give me a better rate on everything. But I've also started to make some relationships with some of the banks that has been recommended, and seeing kind of how we can play into those numbers and everything of that. Financing wise, a lot of it comes down to networking and building a relationship. We are also in a mastermind group ourselves that has a ton of private money that we just tap into and work and make those relationships.
For sure.
So I think for us, it's just going to be coming down to what we can find in terms of financing wise that works with the deal. We won't shy away from hard money. We're not going to shy away from private money. So I would love to get into the community banks and work with some of those. So it's just going to really depend on what works with the deal and what we can make, where we can bring little to no of our money right now, just as we're building back our cash and our capitals.
Yeah. And I would say one thing for the audience out there too, the lender that you are planning this refinance with, here's the situation. The actual lender, the salesperson, if we will, was at a different community bank prior, who you guys had a relationship with there, or at least several of us within this real estate community had success with them in different capacities, and they were very investor friendly. And then that salesperson went to a different company that I don't think a lot of us or anybody really had ever worked with prior to that, right?
Correct. Yeah.
And so almost like the networking almost hurt you in this case, because you had this relationship with the salesperson. You're like, hey man, like we've got this relationship. You got relationships with all these other people. And then it sounds like this person hitched their horse to the wrong cart here with the mortgage company that they're with. And, you know, they're making a lot of promises that they can't keep, which is a big no-no in the lending world. You say you're going to do something, you got to do it. Lenders out there, if you're listening to this, don't be jerking people around like what they're doing with Matt and Ashley here. Otherwise, it's a small community. You know, Wisconsin investors, we're in most of the pockets in Wisconsin, we all talk. And we know who the people are that are doing what they say they're going to do and have good rates and programs and things like that. And most of the people know who to stay away from. And so if somebody brings us that lender now, unfortunately, if they want to use that person to buy deals at Wisconsin Discount Properties, like they're blacklisted, so to speak, for right now, until we can have some proof that they're going to follow through on what they say they're going to do. We can't leave sellers out to dry, right? Like that's the most important thing when we're closing on a purchase in particular. You can't leave a seller out there getting jerked around. On a refinance, it's not any better that they didn't follow through on what they said they were going to do, but at least it's salvageable in some ways, where, you know, you just can't be doing that, lenders out there. So networking is really important. Unfortunately, Matt and Ashley had to be the people that we all learned from who not to use in this case. Yes. But it works the opposite way too, Ashley. You made that point. Like a lot of times we talk, right? And we say, hey, this lender's great. This lender's great. Go use this person, but make sure you do X, Y, Z with them because this is how they operate. You know, you can learn a lot of good intelligence about the lending options out there if you just use your network and go to these meetings and talk to people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Quick shameless plug also, guys. You talked about you not shying away from hard money, private money, getting in with commercial banks. I talk about it in the Burr for Beginners course. If you guys are not in the Burr for Beginners course yet, it is free for you now. We used to charge, I believe it was like $1,500 for the course. You can get it for free by going to WisconsinDiscountProperties.com, plugging your information in, getting on our buyers list, and then just asking Reese or Connor what the discount code is in the link. They'll hook you up with that. But in the course, I talk about having all these different buckets of money, and then you can utilize these different buckets of money for different deals. So I was talking to an investor of ours yesterday about a deal that we had out, and his issue is, you know, he's got some deals out there. He's got some hard money out there, and he's kind of cash strapped right now, but he's got a good amount of equity in his house. And so we talked about some lender options that I have for home equity lines of credit and how we could unlock a lot of that equity for him. And then if he still needs to use a hard money loan, for example, because the deal has to close within a certain time frame that the commercial lender can't use, well, now he can take a big chunk of that hard money or that HELOC, use that to basically get a much lower loan from the hard money lender in that short 2-week window or whatever he would need to buy himself a little bit of time. And now he's paying less points. The interest rate's kind of nominal at that point. Doesn't really matter. You're only going to hold it for a few weeks. And so you can, and then you refinance, you pay yourself that HELOC back. You go rinse and repeat and do it again. So that's a way you can utilize, just an example of some of these different buckets of money, like you alluded to. Ashley, you've got private money. You could do the same thing. You know, you tap into your private money network, but they only got 100 grand. You need 140. You go to your hard money lender for the 40. You use their money for the 10 or for the 100. And then you refinance as quickly as possible with a commercial lender if it makes sense. You know, so a couple different options there. But overall, guys, going forward, what does the future look like for Matt and Ashley after taking some licks on this one?
I mean, definitely like reflect on what we've learned, what we're trying to look forward to, try to find that next deal, run the numbers, make sure it works, just be more diligent on running the numbers for sure, seeing what material costs now are. I mean, that'll give us a better idea on rehab for sure too.
Yeah.
Just find that next deal.
Yeah.
We
love our multifamilies, so that's for sure what we're going for. And then I know we're also itching to get into another house hack here. We're at our year mark from our first one, so might be in the plans as well. So we'll see. Yeah.
Time to go shopping.
Right? Yeah.
I love it. I love it. Well, that is awesome, guys. We always wrap with a little fun question here. The reason we do this, we have people outside of Wisconsin that are thinking about investing in Wisconsin. They don't really know a lot about us. Do you guys have a favorite Wisconsin tradition or place you love to visit here in this great state?
Yeah. Okay. I'll go first. I have two. So one of my favorite places is Granddad's Bluffs in La Crosse, Wisconsin.
Oh, that's a new one.
Absolutely gorgeous. And then the Tosa Village in Wauwatosa, Milwaukee area. It has really cute shops and food down there. We used to go there all the time when we lived in Milwaukee. So those are one of my two favorite places.
You know what? That's that first time in all these episodes, nobody's mentioned those two. Ashley, you get the award for that. There you go. Beautiful. Matt, what about you? We get a double dip today with a couple on here.
Yeah, I'd say like anywhere in Door County. So you got Al Johnson's in Door County for food. I believe you got the red putter. I think that's a good little mini golf course, a little hidden gem out in Door County. So any of those two,
Yeah, the red putter is just an old classic. You know, it's just it's stuck in the 50s and it's great. Brings you back in time. Yeah, for sure. Well, guys, this has been awesome. I think you guys, I appreciate you being vulnerable on here and sharing a lot about this deal that, you know, didn't go the way that you planned, but it's not going to ruin you, you know. And I think that's the important lesson for the audience out there. You know, you can learn so many good lessons through a loss, right? And that's really the important piece for people to remember out there. If you don't give up and you keep pushing forward and you learn, don't be making the same mistakes every time, right? Now you may make it 1 or 2 more times as you go, but learn from those lessons, and you're going to continue to refine your process in your business. And I mean, I think about any startup company. It's really interesting as we wrap this. You know, you think about startup companies; they don't make money for like years, right? They're in the red for years and years and years and years, and people are still like, "Yeah, you're amazing," right? But they just keep evolving and iterating and getting better until they get profitable. And so I think for us in real estate, it's really interesting. Some people do one deal, they lose some money, and they're like, "Oh, real estate's terrible. I'm out. This is a horrible business." And it's like, well, you're not going to be successful probably in any other business that you get into if you can't take some licks and learn from it. So that's the nature of it. You know, Ashley, as you full well know, we are going through some of the same struggles in our business with some of the deals that we've bought. And we ran some numbers and had some projections, and then a well and septic comes up, and there goes 15 or 20 grand that you thought you had as a buffer. So even those of us that have been in this game for a long time, we still take our licks, but we got to keep moving and keep doing go to the next deal and learn that lesson. So anyway, appreciate you guys being on here today. Audience, if you guys got some value out of this episode, please like, share, subscribe, do all that fun stuff. If you're on the YouTube, go ahead and comment on this, please. That actually helps the old algorithm get us up a little bit higher in the rankings, and we appreciate all of that. We'd love to continue to build the audience and get this out into more people's ears and eyes. So appreciate you guys taking a listen. If we can be of any help, go to WisconsinDiscountProperties.com, put your information in there, and somebody from our team will reach out. We will try to help you make sure you avoid some of these same mistakes Matt and Ashley made, but also get you in front of some deals. Every single week, we are putting deals in your inbox that are only available to our buyers. So 2 to 5 deals has been our average every single week that are in mostly Northeast Wisconsin, a little bit up in Milwaukee area, a little bit up in the UP if you're up in that neck of the woods. But get on that list and start getting access to these deals. You won't find them on Zillow. They won't be on Redfin. You're not going to find them anywhere else. So get on the buyer's list, and we are here to help connect you to those right lenders and the right contacts to help you move your business forward. So with that, Matt, Ashley, any final words for the audience?
Just network and network, and good luck with everything for everybody. So
very good. Awesome, guys. We'll see you guys on the next episode.